It's Tim Albright with AVNation with an AVNation special celebrating International Women's Day the entire month of March. You heard me right. I'm not saying that because I'm married and I have a daughter and I get to hang out with awesome people like Cory Schaeffer, who is with us today, talk about her experiences as a woman in the industry. Welcome, ma'am.
Hey, thanks. I love that you're doing this. It's one of my favorite topics about, we get more women in this industry and just love that you're doing it. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's fantastic and telling some of these stories, right? So if nobody's ever, I guess if you've never watched, seen anything in the industry, Cory's been around for a number of years, been involved in it for a number of years. But if nobody's ever met you or heard about you, kind of give us an overarching sense of where you're at in the world of AV and how we got here.
Oh gosh. Okay. So where I'm at today is this amazing manufacturer called QSC. And I've been at QSC for about 5 years. And I'm in a role of alliances and market development. So I spend my time today talking with platform companies like Microsoft, Zoom, Google, Cisco, and other companies that we align with to come to market with a solution and just make sure we meet the needs of the customer. And gosh, how I got here, I guess, many people in the AV industry come at it from the side of music, right? So they play a musical instrument, et cetera. I mean, so much musical talent in our industry. I have none of that. The only thing I play is the stereo, and I do play it loud. But I was fortunate enough to find this industry many years ago, and I really just fell into it. So it was back when an advertisement would be put in a newspaper. So I answered an ad in the paper because I went to school and I was working a couple part-time jobs, and this was a job that was with a manufacturing company in the AV industry and they were looking for someone in marketing, and that was something I was interested in. So I applied, and funny thing, they did not hire me the first time. So they hired someone else. I just went on my merry way. And then apparently the person they had hired showed up for a reason and then didn't show up to work. And so they happened to be going through their resumes and applications, and then, made phone calls. And apparently I was home and answered, and they asked me to come in, and that's how I actually got in. So really just fell into it.
That is amazing. You and your husband for a number of years, Tim Schaeffer, and then I finally got to meet the infamous Tim Schaeffer a number of years ago, and he's freaking fantastic too. You guys owned and ran Listen Technologies for a number of years out in Salt Lake City, and then you made the transition here recently. Take me through kind of some of the challenges though. From those either those early days or even later in your career, when it comes to to being a woman in the AV industry. And the reason I want to highlight this part is in doing the interviews that we did for Black History Month, one of the young ladies that we talked to, she said when she interviewed her HR manager said, look, that this is a male dominated industry, and it's not just male, it's primarily white male, and it is. There's I'm not saying good or bad, that is what it is, right? So as a woman in this industry, what are some of the hurdles that you've overcome, and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so I'll share a few. So I started my career at a company that is now known as Clear, and I again fell into it. Just was really happy to be there. But I'll tell you, in my interview process, I was interviewing with the CFO, and is a white Mormon man. And I was in my early 20s, and he literally said this to me in an interview. He said, "Do you plan to have kids someday?" in my interview. And I looked at him, and without missing a beat, I said, "I don't know, I'm still practicing." And he got embarrassed. at the time, it just, we went through the interview process. I really wanted this position at this company. And then later when I got hired at this company and I began to know him and my other coworkers, I was with, there were some women that we would go to lunch together, and I was telling them that this came up in my interview. And I explained what my reply was. And I said, now that I know him as Mormon minister, I'm so embarrassed that I said that. And they looked at me and they said, are you kidding me? He should be embarrassed that he asked the question. And it really caused me to reflect on it. But it didn't even dawn on me at the time that, it was just so inappropriate. So I think that sometimes things happen and I just look at myself as being, really young and dumb and not really recognizing that a man would never have been asked a question like that, right? So, because clearly a man can have a career, full-time job and kids, but could a woman really,
Well, I want to unpack that for a second here, right? And some of the language and the the questions and that we are all asked, right, from time to time. You're right. I would never, if I applied for a job, I would never be asked if I plan on having kids someday. I'm almost 50, so God help me if I, don't ask me that, even if it was common. How do we move beyond that? How do we start treating, the different genders, the different sexes, and you know what? Don't send me emails, whatever, right? Genders, sexes, the people that we're, seeing on a daily basis. How do we move beyond treating each other more as humans, more as people than, the color of our skin or the bathroom that we choose to go into, because you're right, saying, articles even, right? How a mom can juggle a career and a family. Well, I've never seen one that says, how does a dad do it, right? When we got our first female vice president, when we get our first male one, or first female president, there will inevitably be someone will write an article as, how can she be president and a mom at the same time? I swear to you, it will happen.
Yeah.
How do we get beyond that?
We have to see it. We have to see more of it so that it becomes the norm. We have to see more women today, it's certainly not going to be asked in an interview today, right? But, and also, why can't a man, why is it expected that the responsibility of family is only for the mom? I have an amazing husband, and let me tell you, I would say he's probably more nurturing and did more in raising our kids than, he was just really amazing and a true partner, and I just think we have to see more. You can't be it if you don't see it. And the more we see it, and so that's one factor. And I think another factor is we have to call it out, because sometimes people say stuff and they don't recognize that it's maybe something they would never say to a man or someone else. So we have to be calling that out so that we can turn the mirror in on ourselves, right? And just really see our blind spots, because I think some of this is somewhat innocent, but a lot of it's not innocent. And so innocent or not, we have to call it out. We just have to.
No. When you talk with young women, and one of the things that I admire so much about you is you are very giving of your time and your wisdom of again, being a woman that's in this industry. But you've mentored several women, and several of them are my friends, right? So I know for a fact that you're giving with your time. As you talk with these young women, or if you talk with young women who are coming up now, right, that are just getting into the industry, what advice would you give them on how to overcome some of these challenges and hurdles that they're bound to face?
I think it's first of all, thanks for being kind. And I would just say that, as I got into the industry and plowed through, a lot of the things I did I just really plowed through it. And I remember early on, there was a woman in an executive position that probably could have helped me, and yet she didn't. And so I want to provide a different experience than I had, right? So it's just to try to uplift, and uplifting other women or giving women an opportunity actually helps me certainly more than it helps them, because it sure makes me feel good, and really that's why I do it. And I think the advice when it comes to obstacles and things like that, it's like I try to communicate that if this obstacle comes up, here's maybe how to overcome it. So just rehearse it and come through it, because then when it happens, they're able to weather it and know and kind of have it be muscle memory, so to speak. So comments and issues that come up, so that they're prepared when the obstacle is in front of them. And you can't prepare for everything, but there are many things you can prepare for. And I would say that, I had one of my obstacles was, quite frankly, just opportunities weren't really given as freely as they were to my male counterparts, even though an opportunity be presented. And I remember one distinctly where myself and this other person, this male, we were both interested in the role. And I was automatically put in, well, you'll be the supportive role, right? So you'll be the support for this person. And I literally just asked why. And the person that was kind of setting this up said, oh, well, he has more experience. And I didn't stop. I said, why? What experience? And the example that was given to me wasn't experience in the roles that we were being placed in, right? So I really counted it. And at the end, I didn't win that argument, which was okay, right? I did fall into a supporting role, and I just kept my, head down and worked hard. And at the end, I did get the role I wanted, but I had to really work and earn it, prove myself, when before it was just kind of offered and given. So I think, obstacles are going to come up, and I think not everyone has the personality like I do where they would question the why. So my goal with other women, my daughters included, is that we rehearse and we talk about possible obstacles. We talk about, like, I have a daughter who recently gave me a beautiful grandson, but she was an installer at an AV company. And, I just said to her, look, this is a male dominated industry. Here's what's going on, et cetera. And I mean, we just have the conversation, which I'm sure, many people of color have to have, with their family, right? About, yes, it's not fair. Here's potentially what's going to happen. Here's some things you think about on how to handle it, et cetera. But I feel like, yes, there are challenges in this industry, but what has really kept me in this industry is that sense of community and kind of finding your tribe and knowing, who you can call and say, wow, this happened to me today. I really need to either vent or I need some advice, and getting that. And then also looking for other women in this industry. Opportunity came up this week, a guy that I know fairly well. He just called me and he said, hey, there's a woman that I used to work with. She's amazing. She's in the Atlanta area and she's looking for a gig. He asked, do you know her? Gave me her name. I did not know her. He said, trust me, she's fantastic. And so if you could keep your eyes and ears open, that would be great. Yeah, so I reached out to this woman, even though I didn't know her. I reached out to her on LinkedIn, and then we actually connected and started this chat and started talking about opportunities. And I love that this guy, Dave, reached out to me to tell me about her. But number two, I wanted to help her, and because I just don't want to lose women in the industry. We have such small numbers already. We need to grow those numbers, and those that we have, we definitely have to keep, right? So that's why.
Absolutely. Well, and quite frankly, I mean, there's a handful of women that I would turn to for something like that, and you were at the top of that list. Because it is something that you're passionate about, and it is something that you again foster the mentorship. And it's not like Cory Schaeffer's School of Mentors, right? It's something that you do, at least from the time that I've known you. You've always done You've taken people, as under your wing and as projects, and you've also helped those women mentor others, which I think is a very nice kind of circle of life thing as well.
Right.
So thank you.
Give it back. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Cory, last question is, when you look back, um, what do you want the industry to be different because you were here?
I want more women in the industry than men, and I'm not even kidding. That's really what I want. When you think about the success, and believe me, I've been through all the phases. Of first, growing and learning and trying to find my way, et cetera, to being a co-founder of Listen Technologies, starting my own company. I was on the board of Infocom. I did all these career things, et cetera. And the thing that I want is I want this industry to look different, because I really do want the diversity, because this industry will be better for it. And I want women at the boardroom table. I don't want women in the supportive roles. I want them at all levels within our industry, because our industry will just be better for it. And I want my daughters and my grandkids to see this industry as fun and as exciting as it is, but we also need to see the diversity. And this industry, we've got to change.
All right. Cory Schaeffer, QSC, thank you so much, ma'am. How do people get a hold of you if they are so inclined?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, clearly. You can find me on the Twitters. You can find me at cory.schaeffer@qsc.com. And Tim, thank you for doing this, and thank you for highlighting women in the industry. It's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate it. And you can go by our website, AVNation.tv. It's AVNation.tv. Find this and a host of others, including our 2 weeklies. One looks at the commercial side called AV Week, and the other looks at the residential side called Resi Week. All that and more at AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv.